It is hard to imagine that the body of a priest could be occupied by flies. The last living person disappeared without a trace, and the devil's son that these priests have been waiting for has finally arrived. The only outcome for everyone is death. This is an utterly evil film. The film begins with a mysterious exorcism ritual. A girl is possessed by a demon and tied to a bed. One of the priests sets up a camera. Father Eli sprinkles holy water on the girl, commanding the demon to leave her body. The girl gradually shows signs of pain. Father Eli recites passages from the Bible. As he recites faster, the girl on the bed starts to flip and twist. She keeps roaring and viciously threatens Father Eli, saying she will tear him apart. But Father Eli continues reciting the Bible and gazes at the girl on the bed. The faster he recites, the more intense the bed shakes. Apparently, this demon has formidable powers. Father Eli hurriedly takes out a crucifix and aims it at her. In the next moment, eerie flames ignite on it. Even the eyes of the nearby Jesus statue are burned away by black fire. This bizarre scene frightens the newly arrived priest. Daniel, though he is an exorcist, facing such a fierce demon still scares him. The church exudes an air of mystery throughout. When Daniel opens the compartment of his suitcase, revealing a handgun and a newspaper with a missing woman's photo, it becomes clear that his identity is not as simple as it seems. After participating in the exorcism ritual, he wanted to wash his face and calm down. With a gentle touch, the mirror in front of him starts to crack. Then, a small door behind him opens on its own. Daniel goes to look inside the dark room. He was curious at first but then sensed danger and decisively closed the strange door. Later, Daniel discovers a unique room in the corridor. The door is adorned with snake-shaped reliefs that no other room has. He was tempted to go inside for a look. Coincidentally, a priest walked by. According to him, it is Father Eli's workspace. Unauthorized individuals are not allowed inside. During dinner in the evening, Daniel notices a priest in front of him sobbing. Another person approaches and whispers something to him. Afterward, the priest pats his shoulder and leaves. The food here is nauseating. Every time Daniel finishes eating, he rushes to the bathroom to vomit. This time, he realizes that his teeth are loose. There seems to be something moving chaotically in his mouth. Daniel took out his tooth and looked at it. Inside the tooth, a bug flew out. The more he thought about it, the more eerie it seemed. He decided to take advantage of the late night and pry open Father Eli's office door to find out what was going on. Daniel searched inside for a while. Finally, he discovered a hidden chamber behind a painting. Inside the secret chamber, there were various videotapes. The contents of the tapes were all exorcism rituals that had been performed before. All the possessed girls in the videos died after the exorcism rituals. In fact, Daniel was not a real exorcist but an undercover agent sent by the police to investigate. He infiltrated the exorcism room and discovered a syringe hidden under the bed used to restrain the possessed individuals. Next to it was a wooden board connected to the bed. Daniel also found a switch for a fan. The burning cross at that time was actually just a lighter. He couldn't help but suspect that the exorcism rituals might be a trick designed by the priests. Daniel decided to continue his undercover operation to uncover the truth. That day, he was called up by Father Eli to confess. They had regular confession sessions to show their loyalty to God. Daniel was running out of disguise because he couldn't speak Latin. It won't be long before his identity is revealed. Later in the evening, Daniel decided to observe from outside. Just in case, he brought his own handgun. But the church doors were locked. Daniel could only take a detour to find another way out. However, he was caught red-handed by Father Marlon. Marlon quietly took Daniel to the confessional and revealed a secret. Since the day Daniel arrived, he had been under surveillance. Marlon also said that anyone who showed disobedience here would face severe punishment. Once they entered the church, there was no turning back. Marlon had tried to leave before and nearly lost his life. Marlon kindly advised Daniel to stay low-key and not think about escaping. Daniel, seeing the kindness of the priest, no longer concealed anything. He directly revealed his identity as a police officer. He asked if the exorcisms they performed were all fake. Marlon replied that he didn't know much either. He only knew that Father Eli made money from it. Every time someone died, Father Eli would claim that the girl's body couldn't withstand the possession. Although they died, their souls were liberated. Marlon was also unaware of the cause of these girls' deaths. He suspected that they were drugged. He revealed another clue, that the deceased girls were buried in the church courtyard cemetery. Marlon pleaded with Daniel to save him and cautioned him to be extremely careful. Daniel returned to his room and pushed open the closet, discovering a strange hole in the wall. The hole oozed a sticky liquid, and it seemed like something was moving inside. He reached in with his hand and unexpectedly pulled out a strange stick. The stick had a moving eyeball embedded in it. As soon as Daniel saw it, he immediately turned his head and began vomiting uncontrollably. The things he vomited were filled with bugs. To make it even more bizarre, a demon flashed before Daniel's eyes. He couldn't help but start doubting his own eyes and mental state. After crushing the eyeball stick, Daniel began to question his life. Previously, he didn't believe in demons, but the strange occurrences reminded Daniel that things were not as simple as he imagined. Time quickly passed, and it was already evening. After thinking it over, Daniel went to the cemetery in the yard. If even these are all fabricated, it is enough to indicate that there must be a conspiracy hidden behind this old church. Daniel used a shovel to dig open a brand new grave, but he found the coffin inside empty. Just as he was contemplating, he suddenly had a sack thrown over his head. When he regained consciousness, he was already tied to a bed. All of Daniel's belongings were searched and taken away. Daniel's true identity had been exposed. Father Eli came with food to visit him. He prayed for Daniel and forcibly fed him. Father Eli claimed it was for his own good health. That night, while the guard was asleep, Daniel managed to bite through the ropes. However, he woke up the guard in the process, and they quickly got into a fight. Daniel had no choice but to shoot and kill him. Then Daniel began searching for clues around the place. He found a cold storage room in the kitchen. It was filled with hanging bodies, all of which were the missing girls. Daniel realized that the food he had been eating all these days was made from these girls. He finally understood that these priests were all cannibals. Just as Daniel was shocked, Father Marlon arrived and said he would take him to see some new clues. They went to the library. Father Marlon found a book. The book stated that 30 years ago, a chosen one was born. That day coincided with a solar eclipse. This person had a special mark on their body. If people didn't kill the chosen one in time, when the chosen one grows up, he will eat the 7 sinners and drink the blood of innocent people and become demons. It appears that Daniel is being treated as this chosen one. This is not a church at all, but a group of cultists. The exact number of missing girls happens to be 7. The flesh and blood that Father Eli forcibly fed Daniel were from these 7 girls. Daniel looked at the pattern depicted in the book, astonished to find that it was identical to the mark on his chest. Father Marlon said he knew a way out through a secret passage, but he was caught and nearly killed the last time he tried to escape. When Daniel saw the scar on Marlon's back, he believed him. Under the cover of night, they escaped into the secret passage. Father Marlon led Daniel forward along the way. However, they hadn't gone far when 2 individuals in red robes appeared and knocked him unconscious. It turned out that Father Marlon was actually sent by Father Eli to gain Daniel's trust. Father Eli told Daniel that he was able to come here because he personally arranged it with money. The so-called exorcism ritual was all fake. They selected suitable individuals to inject them with drugs. The rejection and poisoning reactions in the human body appeared as if they were possessed. Father Eli had someone bring the 8th innocent person, cut their throat, and forcefully feed their blood to Daniel. Then they began praying for the arrival of the demon's child, but they got nothing. Daniel couldn't help but burst into laughter. He wanted to mock these fools but couldn't say a word. In an instant, everyone fell into self-reflection. Little did they know, they had worked so hard for all these years, only to be in vain. They never imagined that the accounts in that book were fake. In order to prevent the information from leaking, Father Marlon had no choice but to stab Daniel with a knife and throw him into a dry well. That night, Father Eli couldn't understand why their plan had failed. Distracted, Father Eli didn't notice that the cross on the wall had turned. Later that night, Father Marlon arrived. Taking advantage of Father Eli's drunkenness, Marlon suffocated him with a pillow. The next day, they began cremating the bodies. Father Eli's death was mistakenly believed to be a natural death by everyone. As a result, Father Marlon, who was the second in command, became the leader here. Actually, Daniel didn't die. After regaining consciousness, he started trying to find a way to survive. But before Daniel could fully recover, he felt like something was moving inside his body. Daniel's whole body went crazy uncontrollably. He rolled his eyes, spoke incoherently, and white smoke emanated from his body. At that moment, the other priests were praying for Father Eli outside. Everything was going smoothly originally, but in the middle of the prayer, Father Marlon suddenly felt difficulty in breathing. Eventually, he found himself floating in mid-air. His entire body was forcibly bent into the posture of Jesus on the cross. Then mysteriously, Father Marlon's body transformed into flying insects, dissipating gradually. The cultists witnessing this were stunned in place. In the next moment, a sinister hand appeared. Soon, the awaited demon's child was born. The cultists didn't know whether to be afraid or happy. The demon's child let out a piercing scream. The cultists turned around and ran, but they were instantly immobilized. At this moment, the statue of Jesus turned its head and silently watched the demon's child below. The demon, mimicking Jesus' posture, opened its arms. In the next second, everyone was arranged into inverted crosses. They screamed in despair. They had regarded the demon's child as their savior and had earnestly awaited his arrival. But when this day truly arrived, they realized it was an irredeemable disaster. All the people in the church were suspended in the air in the posture of an inverted cross. Outside, the withered plants started blooming again. It seems that the heavenly beings were resisting the demon's child. Soon, the wall behind the statue of Jesus started cracking. The cracks extended all the way to the ceiling. Eventually, even the sky had a gaping hole. Countless demonic entities fell from above. The movie ends at this point. This is a newly released thriller movie of the year. The film is titled The Abyss of Hell. The overall story has a surprising twist in the sequel. There aren't many horrifying scenes. I thought it would reach a climax, but it abruptly ends, which is a bit disappointing. However, the ending where the demon's child returns to the human world makes one think there might be a sequel. This film doesn't follow the cliché plot of good triumphing over evil. Here, everyone is evil. Some scenes are hair-raising. Interested viewers can find the original film to watch. See you in the next issue. Thank you all for your support.